All right, let's jump right in. We're going to talk about one of the most shockingly accurate predictions ever made about the world we live in today. A vision of the future that you are literally living through right now. And the wild part? It didn't come from some tech CEO or a fancy research lab. It came from a science fiction writer. This one sentence is the heart of it all. Men will no longer commute, they will communicate. I mean, that sounds like something ripped straight from a LinkedIn post about remote work, doesn't it? A simple, powerful idea that has totally upended how we live and work. But here's the kicker. When do you think he actually said that?
1964. Yeah, you heard that right. Over half a century ago. This was before we even landed on the moon, way before the internet, before anyone even had the faintest idea of a personal computer in their house. Just let that sink in for a minute. So, how in the world did he nail it so perfectly?
Okay, so let's unpack that 1964 vision. You see, Clarke wasn't just throwing darts at a board here. He was looking at the tech of his time, brand new things like transistors and communication satellites, and he was thinking, okay, if this trend continues, what will the world look like in, say, 50 years? Our world.
And what's just incredible is how specific he got. He didn't just mumble something about communicating more. No, he pictured instant contact with anyone, anywhere on the planet. He talked about executives running their companies from Tahiti or Bali just as easily as from London. He even tossed out this insane idea of a brain surgeon in Edinburgh operating on a patient in New Zealand. In his mind, the whole reason for cities to exist as a physical meeting place would just evaporate.
So a vision that bold doesn't just materialize out of thin air, right? For decades, countless engineers and scientists, piece by piece, started building the scaffolding for the world that Clarke had only dreamed of.
And that's the real question, isn't it? How did we get from a sci-fi author's incredible prediction in the 60s to you, right now, experiencing this explainer from wherever you are in the world? Well, the answer lies in a chain of technological revolutions that mostly happen behind the scenes.
This journey took time. It really kicks off just 2 years after Clarke's prediction, when a guy named Charles Kao theorized fiber optics, basically the super-fast pipes for all our data. Then, in '69, you get ARPANET, the little seed that would grow into the internet. But the birth of the global internet as we know it, that happens in 1983 with a new common language. A few years later, in '91, the World Wide Web gives it a user-friendly face. And then, the final piece of the puzzle, 2007, the iPhone puts all of that power right in your pocket.
Let's pause on that common language, TCP/IP, for just a second. It's probably one of the most important inventions you've never really thought about. Before 1983, you had all these separate little computer networks that couldn't talk to each other. Adopting TCP/IP was like giving every computer on Earth a universal translator. It's the technical key that turned a bunch of isolated networks into the internet. That's what made Clarke's instant global contact actually possible.
Now, Clarke thought communication satellites were going to be the whole story. And for a while, they were incredibly important. But what really built the backbone for the world he saw was the absolute explosion in data capacity we got from fiber optics. I mean, satellites are great, but the sheer volume of information we're pushing around today, video calls, cloud files, streaming, that's only possible because we're shooting light through these tiny glass fibers. Okay, so we have the infrastructure, the global data superhighway. Now we need the tools, the actual cars that let us drive on it and really start communicating instead of commuting. And this evolution is just fascinating to watch. First, in 1982, a little thing called the SMTP protocol became our universal postman, letting different networks send email to each other. Then, in the mid-90s, VoIP, or Voice over IP, started to replace your classic phone call. By 2003, Skype comes along, and suddenly face-to-face video calls are something normal people can do. And the final nail in the coffin for the old office? The cloud, in the mid-2000s, which meant our filing cabinets and server rooms could live online, accessible from anywhere. Every step just chipped away at why you needed to be in a specific building to do your job.
And here it is. This is the payoff. On the left, you have Clarke's exact words from 1964. And on the right, the stuff we use every single day. The line between his science fiction and our reality has basically vanished. We use this stack of tech,
VoIP, video calls, cloud computing, smartphones to do precisely what he described, run our business from pretty much anywhere. This connected world wasn't an accident. It was built by these, architects of the unseen. People like Tim Berners-Lee, who gave us the web. Jonathan Postel, who made sure our emails actually got delivered. Charles Cott, who first imagined data flowing as light. And Martin Cooper, the guy who made the very first cell phone call. They're just a few of the brilliant minds who laid the bricks for the world that now fits in your pocket.
So the prophecy was fulfilled. There's no doubt about it. But Clarke also left us with one last and maybe most important question about this new world he saw coming. I mean, if we actually grade his predictions, it's pretty wild. Instant global contact? Check. Realized. Work from anywhere? Absolutely. Realized. That crazy idea about remote brain surgery? That's actually a thing now. It's called telesurgery. But the abolished city? Well, that one's still up for debate. Our cities are definitely changing, but abolished? Not so much. And that brings us to his own big worry.
And here's Clarke, in his own words, from that same interview, adding a huge note of caution. He loved the potential of the technology, but he was worried about what we'd lose. He hoped that by gaining the freedom to be anywhere, we wouldn't accidentally erase what makes different places unique, that the whole world wouldn't just blend together into one giant, generic suburb.
So we have to ask ourselves, in building this incredible world where distance barely matters, where we communicate so much more than we commute, has his biggest fear come true? Has it?